In this video, I'm going to share a 3-step process that you can start using immediately to create an uplifting culture of feedback within your children's ministry team. Because who wouldn't want a team that's consistently improving and reaching more kids for Christ more effectively? So let's dive in.
Once upon a time, in a land near you, there was a children's ministry team that was just finishing up.
So, good job, everyone.
Oh, good job,
guys.
That was really good.
See you next week, then.
With that, the team went their separate ways, but as they went, different ones were thinking to themselves,
I didn't want to say anything, but when Winnie sits in the back, she can't reach her group of kids who are goofing off during the Bible lesson.
Meanwhile,
Melody is so good at leading the songs, but she took a while getting to the front when it was her turn, and the kids' attention started drifting.
and
Paul goes really deep at the Bible lesson, but I think the kids were bored because there was nothing for them to look at when he was talking.
I hope it goes better next time.
Wow, I don't know what all happened today, but I'm sure it was great.
And so, each person kept their thoughts to themselves. Next week, despite their hopes, things did not go better. The end.
Oh, wait, what do you mean that's the end? We just can't leave it like that.
Well, that's what happens when you don't communicate as a team and give each other feedback.
Well, okay, I guess that's fair enough. So teams need to make time for feedback. Well, okay, tell you what, let's call this team review time. So what are some reasons why someone might keep helpful feedback to themselves? Often, it's because of fear. Fear of saying something wrong or offending someone. The fear of being awkward and just being like, I don't know if I should say this. But as Coach John Wooden said, it's powerful, he said this, without proper self-evaluation, failure is inevitable. Now this applies to a team too, whether it's a sports team, a business team, or a ministry team. But unlike sports or work, we are pouring our efforts into eternal things. If we mess this up, this could have an effect on eternity, namely the lives and souls of each of the children that we're teaching. So here are 3 tips that could just establish a simple but effective team review time. Are you ready? Here we go. The first is this: make it expected. A big part of culture is expectations. So make feedback the normal thing that we do versus the unexpected. The thing that we tackle when only things go wrong versus, hey, this is just who we are as a team. As a team, you can all agree to just circle up after each event and do a team review time. And if people know, hey, this is just what we do, it gives them the space to brainstorm and share ideas, also be transparent and think, how can we make this better? Now, the best time to do this is right after you finish the event. Everyone's memory is still fresh and they still have time to fix the problems before the next time you get together. Another thing that you all should agree to is that everyone will participate. That is that they'll be humble with a mind to grow and that they'll be honest. Not brutally honest, but lovingly honest. Now, the next step is to do this. It's to go around the circle and ask the team 3 review questions. The first question is this: what went well? Now what this does, it just helps draw people into the conversation and gets them thinking. By getting people to start thinking, no, I want to hear what went well, it lets them lean into going, okay, did I see anything that went good? And sometimes we have to highlight even the smallest things that went well, but by doing that, it just helps build people's confidence and knowing that, okay, oh wow, yeah, this was a good thing, that was a good thing, we can still celebrate that. Ask the question, what went well? To start off on a positive note. And give God the glory and celebrate the wins. Don't overlook this. You've got to celebrate. Now, depending on your team, this could be the easy part, or honestly, it could be challenging, because sometimes we just want to jump right to what went wrong and we just gloss over all the things that actually went right. Now, how do we talk about the things that didn't go right? Usually, this is where the conversation dies out and people say, so, see you next time. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. And so most choose to suffer in silence, or worse, they go and complain what needs to be fixed to someone who can't fix it. Now, how do you change the culture of avoidance? By encouraging what we call a growth mindset. Now, growth mindset is helping a team think broader. It's helping them realize, hey, I don't have to be afraid or ashamed of failure. In fact, failure is simply information for improvement. Thomas Edison said it like this: I have not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. When you have a growth mindset, feedback becomes a hand up rather than a weapon that hurts you. Now, speaking of growth, you can help this channel grow. See what I did there? If you've grown better through this content, you can pay it forward by liking and sharing this video to somebody else that could benefit from this. Now, let's get back to the video. Let's make sure that we're keeping this atmosphere positive. Use humor, smile, give each other the benefit of the doubt. Maybe Paul didn't know that he was boring kids when he was trying to teach a Bible lesson, and somebody just needs to tell him. Now, they don't need to come up and say, dude, that really stunk. Like, seriously, how could it be so dry and boring? That's not helpful, right? Because that's personal. This isn't personal. We want to pull together and help each other become better. But again, if we don't know what we don't know, we just need somebody to point it out. Remember this, above all, remind each other periodically why you're doing this. You could say something like, guys, remember, we value growing better as a team. Or we're doing this not because we just like to criticize each other, because we've got each other's backs and we just want to help the kids succeed. You know, once you understand each other's motives, now you can ask this next question. And that's this: what could be improved for next time? And what are we going to do about this? You might come up with 10 different things that need to be improved. Don't try to improve all of them at once, but just drill in and start looking at, hey, what's one or two things we could do next time to make this better? Once this question is asked, it should be what? Self-reflective. What am I going to do about this? And then the answer to the question, each one on the team, they can contribute, saying, yeah, hey, next time I can do this, or next time I can do that. You know, when you take the initiative in correcting yourself, it just takes away that awkwardness of other people having to correct you. After all, improvement begins with I. When self-correcting, avoid blaming circumstances outside your control. Instead, focus on what you can control. Next, give the people permission to advise you. Ask for input. Again, when you take initiative, it takes some of that awkwardness away. You could say it like this: you know, what's one thing, guys? Do you have anybody have any tips? Like, what's one thing I could do next time that'll just give me the greatest gains? How can I improve? Notice that it creates a healthy boundaries for feedback. First, it keeps things manageable by asking for one concrete action step within your control. Now, next, it also implies the feedback will be greatly benefited to the receiver. Lastly, it focuses on the future instead of dwelling on the past. You know, after you've gotten your feedback, choose one thing you're going to do and work on that next time. Don't try to fix 20 things all at once, like I mentioned earlier. It's going to take practice to see feedback as a gift. Why? Because the natural response to evaluation is just to feel judged. We have to mature to a place, though, where we receive it and respond with gratitude, and that we love feedback. So remind yourself of this: hey, don't get offended, get better. What we've covered so far is about graciously receiving feedback. Now, what if you're the one that has to give feedback? How can you say it without being awkward or offensive? Here's just a couple tips that are going to help with this. First, word it in a way that focuses on the children's good rather than on the teammates' mistakes. For example, don't say, well, you did this wrong, or I didn't like this. Instead, try saying it like this: it would really help the children if you did this next time. Or if a child could see this, that would really help them. Again, it just helps bring the common goal, which is what? It's the children. It's not a personal attack. Secondly, when giving feedback, focus on actions instead of attacking somebody personally or they're attacking their motives. You know, for example, don't say this: well, it sure helped the children if you weren't so boring. That's not going to help, right? Now, instead, maybe try something like this: hey, John, it would really help the children stay attentive if you added a few more visuals to your presentation, and maybe ask them a question or two as you're speaking to them. Again, it just helps trigger them, like, oh, here's an actionable step. I could use a visual. I could use a question. I could look at the kids in the eye, whatever it is. But again, you're giving that tangible, practical side of, hey, here's a couple helpful things. Lastly, ask them, now what are your thoughts? Ultimately, they're going to decide what they're going to do with the feedback you give them. But giving them the chance to verbalize it back helps you hear, did they hear what I was trying to say? And also, are they receiving that? Here's the third and final question to ask: how can the team support you? And be specific with your request. You could say something like this: wow, guys, it would really help me if somebody could help me come up with a visual aid. Or I was trying to figure out the PowerPoint and how to do that. Does anybody know how I can find a better visual? Just remember, if you're not specific with your request, you might run into the bystander effect and not get any help at all. Now, lastly, and this is probably the most important, to put all this together is the last step, and that's step 3. Keep building relationships and trust within your team. Without trust, feedback falls on deaf ears. Personally, what does that mean? Be a man or woman of godly character. Keep your promises. Be kind and thoughtful. Acknowledge other people's efforts. Show that initiative and pray for each other. Lastly, make sure you own up your mistakes. And aside from personal character, there are many ways to build trust in relationships. Different things are meaningful to different people, like spending time together, words of praise, giving a helping hand, celebrating a fist bump, or giving little gifts of appreciation. So remember, the next time you finish up an event, see if you can circle up and have a team review time. Again, whether it happens with the leader or it happens organically, it really doesn't matter. But what does matter is that you're growing through feedback. So you become a team that's consistently getting better. Why? For God's glory and the children's benefit.